We got a hot mic. We got a hot mic.
All right, welcome everybody to the Hot Mics. I got Yaji on. Say what's up, Yaj.
Hello.
All right, and this is your host, Ian.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, this is your host, Ian. We got a hot mic, guys. We got a hot mic. So today...
Got a mic.
What we talking about, Yaj?
Car buying.
Right. So Yaji just turned 16 and he's interested in buying a car. So he has some questions for me. And I may or may not have some answers for him.
Okay, so being 16, I'm not really familiar with the market. Just getting my permit, just getting everything ready. I'm wondering, what steps should I take? Should I go in the route of a used car or a new car?
So, as a new driver, I would tell you the best route to go is used. Why would I say used? I mean, you're just learning how to drive. Getting a new car is expensive. I mean, buying a used car is expensive. So getting a new car will be far more expensive. Again, you're just learning how to drive. You're going to have some dings here and there, some scratches going on your car. You're going to bump into a couple of things. That just happens as a new driver. So having a new car and having those things happen, could be a big issue. So yeah, I would say go used and go with something that's within your budget, something that you could afford.
Okay, so in terms of getting a used car, where do you think I should look for a used car?
Okay, so what you're asking me is, should you go to a dealership or should you go to like Facebook Marketplace or I don't know what other
eBay, any of that?
So here's the thing, right? And I call them stealerships. Stealerships or dealerships. They're going to offer you cars, but they're going to mark it up a little bit. They have to pay for marketing. They have to pay for their employees. They got to pay for the building that they're in and stuff like that. So they're going to mark up the cost of a car a little bit. There are some dealerships that will give you some kind of warranty already included in the car purchase. You have some dealerships that will have that added on. Some dealerships say that they do a certain step point inspection when they're selling cars to you. That is the quote unquote advantage of a dealership. Buying private, I mean, you're buying a car as is, right? So whatever's going on with the car, whatever issues that person had with the car and the reason why they're getting rid of the car. I mean, and they could be getting rid of the car just to buy another car, and their trade-in value was lower than what they can sell it for on the private market. So, it's not necessarily that they're selling a car because there's an issue. It could be, they're just getting rid of the car. And it could be several reasons why. But for the most part, you're buying that car as is. So understand that if there's any issues with that car, anything like that, after you purchase it, it's on you. However, it's going to be cheaper. And in most cases, it's cheaper to buy a car in the private market. So you got to look at those things when you're buying a car. You got to understand those things, and choose from there.
Okay. And going back onto what you're saying about dealerships, what brands do you think I should stay away from?
So brands you should stay away from. I'm going to flip that question and tell you the brands that I would say you should go to. I've had great success and luck with Toyota. And not recently, but I would say less than 2 years ago, I bought a Honda. And so far so good. I bought a Toyota back in 2014, Toyota Avalon. 2014, I bought that car. I still drive it. Still drives well. I've had zero issues. And that's 11 years, going on 12 years that I've had that car, zero issues. Just the routine maintenance, tires, oil change, brakes, stuff of that nature. So, I can't, say, I can say a lot about Toyota. It's a great car brand. Everybody that I know that I talk to, they say it's a, great, reliable vehicle, the vehicle brand. I would go with Toyota. Second, I would go with Honda. So far so good. With my ownership of a Honda vehicle, from what everyone, who has owned a Honda has told me, They still drive it. They have great success with it. So I would say second, I would go with Honda. I could tell you my experience with Ford. I had a Ford Taurus. If there's any vehicles that I would suggest that you stay away from, and that's just based on my experience, it's Ford. I had a Ford Taurus, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. I had it for. I had to get a transmission put in halfway through my ownership. And then as I was getting rid of that vehicle, the transmission started going again. And I had a whole host of other issues going on with that car. So yeah, Ford, and for the most part, the people I know who own Fords or who have had owned Ford vehicles have all said the same thing. A lot of issues, a lot of maintenance, a lot of repairs. So, in my experience, I would stay away from Ford.
Okay. So on the topic that you said, I should stick to the brands Toyota or Honda, what type of cars do you think I should get? What type of make, what type of body, what type of year should I get?
That's a good question. So I would tell anybody if they're buying a car, that you should get a car based upon what you're going to use it for 90% of the time. If you're, every so often you go buy lumber to do some kind of work in your house, and that's a less than 1% chance that you're going to do that, I wouldn't buy a truck just because of that. I mean, you could rent a truck or something like that, which will come out cheaper than just buying a truck for that purpose, for that 1%. So I would tell you buy based upon what you're going to use the vehicle for 90% of the time. If you're going to and from school, to and from work, something like that, it's just you in a car. Occasionally, you may have somebody else in the car. Do you need a big vehicle? No. I would say buy something that can fit you, occasionally someone else, and occasionally some other goods. And I would buy based on that. I wouldn't buy based on what you may occasionally use the vehicle for. So to answer the question, I mean, as a new driver, you probably want a smaller vehicle, in my opinion. Get a smaller vehicle, older vehicle, something just to get used to driving, something more fuel efficient. Look for something 4-cylinder. I know they have some 3-cylinder, 2-cylinder vehicles out there. Today's world, they have hybrids and electric vehicles. Stick with something that's cheaper to use, has, a great reliability history, and low maintenance. That's what you want.
Okay. So on the topic of me being a 16-year-old looking for a car, one, what would you tell other 16-year-olds, as an advice of buying a car? And what would you tell yourself going back, getting your first car?
Ooh, so I'm gonna tell you, my first car was given to me. My aunt was actually purchasing a new car, and she was actually going to put the car that she had that was given to me, she was going to send that to the junkyard. The car wasn't really worth a lot. It had some issues, needed some maintenance and so forth. It was a 1984 Mercury Marquise. It was similar to the Ford LTD. I think it was a 6-cylinder rear wheel drive. At the time, I lived in New York, so rear wheel drive in the snow, terrible. That was my first vehicle. I mean, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about cars with that vehicle. It was a great experience, and I always appreciate my aunt for giving me that car. Like I said, it was a great experience. Back to what was your question again? I got kind of lost in what I was saying about my first vehicle. So you're saying what?
No, you're good. With the advice that you gave me, what do you think is general advice you can give to basically all 16-year-olds buying cars?
Right.
Like what to stay away from? Because a lot of times kids want to buy, something that's fast,
Cool.
but it may not be the best for them and their budget.
As always, stick to your budget. As a 16-year-old, I mean, if you have a budget, if you have cash or something like that, go with that. I do not recommend getting a car with payments as a 16-year-old. Again, you're 16 years old. You don't need that responsibility. Be a 16-year-old, be a kid, have fun. Get something that's cheap, reliable. Like I say, get maybe a smaller vehicle. Depending on, what you're going to use the vehicle for. Like, I said before, if 90% of the time you're just driving, from home to school to work occasionally, Do you need a big SUV, truck, a van? Not necessarily. So I would go with a car that's, where the fuel is more fuel efficient, or hybrid or electric vehicle. I probably would stay away from electric vehicle, but I would, definitely go with a car that's fuel efficient. As far as like the technologies that are in the car, I mean, you could add on whatever you want aftermarket. So I wouldn't really get too caught up in what technologies it offers. I mean, as long as, the windows work, stuff of that nature, the basics, as long as you have the basics, the air conditioning, heat, all that stuff, you're good.
All right. Okay. It's great advice.
So when are you looking to buy a car?
The main thing with buying a car is, before coming onto this, I really didn't know where to start. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, I'm 16-year-old, kind of new to this whole car stuff. Really didn't know what brand to get, used or new, what type of car to get. I really had no type of idea what to do.
Right.
But coming onto this made me kind of think that, okay, I should go here if I want this, go here if I want that, and what brands to get, and kind of have an idea of what I need versus
Right.
what I could potentially want that could be more expensive.
Right. Yeah, I would stick with need versus want. Safe reliability. That's what you want. Safe reliability. I repeat that again. Safe reliability. As a 16-year-old, you're going to make mistakes on the road. So you want to be safe, you want to be reliable, and that's what you want. Safe and reliability. Stay up on your maintenance. And from a 16-year-old, that's an added expense. I started driving when I was 17 years old. And I wasn't prepared for the additional expenses. There's expenses to operate in a vehicle, and then there's the opportunity expenses that you have by having a vehicle. And what I mean by that is now you have more access to buy other things. So now you can go, let's say you want to go to McDonald's, right? You could go to McDonald's more often. You can go to, clothing stores, shoe stores, whatever, more often and buy more things. So, having a car has its advantages, but, as a 16-year-old, it also has its disadvantages because, again, it's a huge responsibility. I mean, you got to think about it. You're in a, 2 to 3 ton, 4 ton vehicle. Anything could happen. You have to stay alert. You can't be distracted, especially today with all the technology that we have in, with a phone, you know what I mean? You can't be texting and driving. You can't be, shouldn't be on the phone and driving at all. You want to stay focused on the road because anything could happen. Anything could jump out. You see a ball come out on the road, stop, stop, slow down.
Yeah.
When you're in a residential neighborhood, because a kid is coming right after that ball. That's always the thing.
Yeah,
So, it stops. I would tell you this, my advice to you as a 16-year-old who wants to drive, and because I'm your father, I'm going to tell you this, get some walking shoes and get used to catching a bus. Just to worry about that. Don't worry about driving. Oh man, but I know. I've been there before, so I know. Yeah. So, anything else? Anything else you want to know about hitting the road and getting the car? And
I think this was very educational to me. I learned, like I said, about the pros and the cons of getting certain cars.
Mhm.
The pros and cons of getting used and new. How I could get a newer car with more miles on it,
Mhm.
or a car, a cheaper car with more miles on it, but I could have that extra pocket money, say if I want to go to McDonald's for gas, for other
Right.
expenses.
Yeah. Now that's key, man. That's key. Probably, I would say definitely buy cash. New driver, buy cash. And try to go as cheap as you can. But you also got to think about, like I said, reliability. I mean, I champion Toyota, and used Toyotas always have a little premium on them. You're going to pay a little bit more than other cars because of the reliability, and so forth. So you may have to pay a little bit more, but you get your money back in the long term. So, with less maintenance and so forth, and, less downtime. So, go cash, again, buy something cheap. I mean, when you first start driving, again, I banged different things, parallel parking and, driving. I had somebody hit me in a golf cart one time. You know, it was made a little bit of a dent. You know, again, I was driving an '84 Mercury Marquise. This is back in 1998. It had a little dent in the car, but you know, we just kept rolling. You know, it wasn't nothing major. They gave me a few dollars, and I just kept rolling. I was like, all right, cool, kept rolling. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have little bangs here, there, and you know, the whole thing is to get used to having a vehicle, get used to the responsibility of a vehicle, and you know, and that's it. So you want to go as cheap as possible, but also be safe and reliable. If that all makes sense.
It does. It does.
And stay away from sports cars as a young guy. You don't need no sports car. You need to no racing, none of that nonsense. No. Stay away from sports.
It's tempting though. It's tempting though, especially as a
Then you definitely don't need to get a driver's license or a car. So anything else you want? Anything else you want to know? Well, everybody,
I think my boxes are checked off.
All right, cool. Everybody, man, please like, share, subscribe. You know, hit us up in the comments. We're on the Hot Mics on everything on all social media platforms. And if you have nothing else, Yaji, I have nothing else. So with that, we'll catch you guys later.